Ketchup. You can find ketchup in almost every kitchen in America. But is this all-American condiment really that American? Mabuhay, or in Kapampangan, luwid kayo. Today's question comes from Davis, California. Kristen, who is also from Quezon City, Philippines, asks, "Hi Kuya Kirby, where did ketchup come from?" I'm glad you asked, because ketchup actually has a very interesting history. It's something that I first learned about and found very interesting as a little kid back in the Philippines. So I'm more than happy to share the fascinating history of the all-American ketchup. Today, if you think of ketchup, you'd think of American food. It goes well with your French fries, your hamburger, your hot dog, your bacon, your sandwiches, your eggs. I mean, I know people who put it in ice cream. Now, the most popular ketchup is the red tomato ketchup. But for us Filipinos, we also have this, the banana ketchup, that for some reason is also red. Now back to Kristen's question, where did ketchup come from? Where did this all-American condiment come from? Now if you answer the United States or even Europe, then I'm afraid that your answer is wrong. This condiment that you can find in every American household is actually from Asia. Yes. Ketchup has its roots in what we now call Southeast Asia, and it was not made with tomatoes. So how did ketchup end up in America? Ketchup, as we know it today, or this kinda sweet, kinda sour red tomato paste, did not exist until the 1800s. The world-famous brand Heinz only started making tomato ketchup back in 1876. But by the end of the 1800s, ketchup has become a very popular table sauce in American kitchens. And these earlier versions of ketchup, of American red tomato ketchup, they're more like soy sauce, which actually brings us closer to the ancestors of our modern day all-American ketchup. You see, before tomatoes were introduced in European kitchens, Western ketchup in places like the United Kingdom was made with a whole variety of ingredients, such as fermented mushrooms, fermented walnuts, and fermented anchovies. Yes, anchovies. These tiny little saltwater oily fish. Why fish? Because the English, who first introduced ketchup to the Western world, wanted to replicate, or in other words, to copy this savory concoction that they had found in Southeast Asia back in the late 1600s. They were so amazed by the taste of this savory Southeast Asian table sauce, and they wanted to recreate this once they returned to England. And these fermented savory table sauce was known as ketchup throughout the islands of Southeast Asia, or what are now the countries of Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei Darussalam, and yes, even the Philippines. In fact, in Maya Manong Siswan, aka my mother tongue, the Kapampangan language of what is now the Philippines, the older, more proper and much deeper word for fish sauce is not patis. It's Kesiap, not patis. Kesiap. So nung Kapampangan ka, may usang patis kasi Kesiap ya. And in the country of Indonesia, the most popular condiment, the most famous condiment is sweet soy sauce, also known as ketchup manis. So yes, the direct ancestor of the all-American tomato ketchup is none other than the Southeast Asian fish sauce. And if you want to dig a little deeper, deep into etymology, although fish sauce may likely be indigenous to Southeast Asia, the word ketchup has its roots from the Fujian region of southern China, from the Hokkien term ketchup, which is also a savory sauce made with pickled fish and spices. And this brings us to my final point, that as Asian Americans, many of us have always been made fun of, have always been discriminated, all because of the foul smell of fish sauce. From recess at school to office lunch breaks and even potlucks in the community, the smell of fish sauce would almost always certainly trigger an adverse reaction from someone who is more often than not a non-person of color. Yet the deep and fascinating history of the all-American ketchup goes beyond tomatoes. It goes all the way back to Southeast Asia, to our Southeast Asian fish sauce. And if you think about it, even cooking and eating tomatoes, it goes all the way back to the indigenous people of Latin America, from the Aztecs of Mesoamerica to the Incas of the Andes. So yeah, get to know your food before you judge others for what they eat. Because who knew that the all-American ketchup that you love the most most actually came from that stinky fish sauce that you once hated and judged. And that is it for me today. If you like this video, if you learned a thing or two from this video, check out my Patreon page and help me make more videos like this and be my patron. Dakal pong salamat. See you next time, or in Tagalog, kita kits. And in Kapampangan, Mikitiks.